I'll bring it. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back.
Bring what
What's
back?
up? Check, 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 check.
Oh,
Start.
that's happening.
Just getting it back. Just getting it back.
Pinkies.
Okay, so good to see you.
You too, man.
I'm excited.
Cheers. Miss you.
I'm excited. So what's that beer you got there again? Which one
I'm dropping in on Java the Hutt coffee milk stout from Fernie.
Oh, okay. That's good. Get the caffeine in early so you can
dark,
sleep later.
and creamy. Oh wait, there's caffeine in this?
Probably.
I guess if there's coffee in it. I didn't even think about that. I'm actually kind of getting more and more sensitive to caffeine as I get older.
Yeah, I usually can't do it after 3. I got this.
I know that's kind of where I try to draw the line. What do you got?
I got this sweet beer. I've been saving it actually for over a year. It's a barrel-aged Brett 24-2 stock ale from Blind Man Brewing.
Oh, fuck.
You ever been to Blind Man Brewing or had it?
Yeah.
It's so I judged some beer.
Blind Man is Lacombe, is it right?
Yeah, Lacombe.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent.
Really
good
a couple years ago, and this beer got best of show. So out of all the golds, best of show.
Were
the
you
whole
judging?
Competition. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was actually judging the best of show too, and I couldn't find it, and then I found it at Wine and Beyond of all places in Calgary.
That place is pretty legit.
So
you can find some
I'm pretty
gems.
excited. Anyways,
Sometimes I like to
ASMR
go there and
some
look
beer
at the.
opening.
Oh yeah, I like to go there and look at the really expensive scotches just because I think it's cool.
Just hang out in that section and meet friends.
Oh, dude, I'll just stare at it and be like, it's $15,000, and they're like, yeah,
Okay.
and I'm like, and then I'll just stare.
Okay, ready?
at it some more. Yeah, hit it.
Ooh, I heard it. It's this little squeaker.
I love ASMR.
Okay. Oh, thank God for not spilling it. Actually foamed up a bit. That would suck. That would just ruin things.
What's this podcast called anyway? What are you calling it?
Yeah, this is the inaugural episode. You know, if it works, of course.
Right.
It's going to be called the Arborist Blueprint. Mm-hmm. I was going to call it More Better.
Mo Better.
But then Crystal
The Arborist
I don't
Mo
get
Better
it. I don't
cast.
think it's very good. So, and I
She's
needed
right.
I needed some
Listen
keywords,
to
honestly, like for people to find it. So,
Yeah, well, there is that, and like you are going to have this on Spotify and stuff, right?
oh yeah,
Because you need
Cheers.
to. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Here we go. Oh, are we swearing? Probably no swearing. Cheers. Chink.
no, we can do whatever we want. It's that's the beauty of having your own podcast.
All right, man. Well, let's fucking do this.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm going to try not to swear. Because the thing is, something that I run into quite a bit is I listen to podcasts nonstop. I love it. In fact, it like kind of keeps me company, as sad as that sounds. But sometimes I'll be listening to podcasts and the kids will be in the van or the truck or whatever. And you just, you don't really need that. So I'm going to try my best to keep my stick on the ice, if you will.
yeah. I'll try a little bit. Maybe we'll see how it goes. Just go with the flow.
Yeah, just no matter what happens, don't ask me any questions about the ISA, because then I for sure won't swear. So what do you want to talk about? Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll get there. What have you been doing today? You had a podcast right before this, right? With a friend?
Yeah, so there's a podcast that is headed up by a friend of mine, Matt Blank, and it's called the Exit Point Podcast, and it's pretty much focused on base jumpers. So it's sort of a podcast for base jumpers, and we got to talking about lots of different stuff, a little bit of my journey, but actually a lot about trees, because as of late, there's been a number of incidents, base jumping and paragliding incidents involving trees, specifically people like landing in them and getting tangled up. And, there's not a ton of defined protocol in terms of what you're going to do in that scenario. And it can be actually really complex. Aside from potential injury, you just got to think about the way that the equipment works.
You mean like trying to get out of the tree, like once you've landed in it?
Or to get somebody out of the tree. Yeah. See, like in arboriculture, when we do an aerial rescue, I mean, we're going up to another arborist. So by nature, they're going to be wearing a harness. The harness is going to have, a series of, pretty predictable pieces of anatomy. And we're going to use those after we make sure that they're still good. Whereas when you're dealing with parachute systems, We don't have a floating bridge, and we don't have work positioning Ds, and we don't have that type of thing available. So you need to be adaptable. So the curriculum that I'm writing right now for like base jumper and paraglider and skydiver related rescue from trees is going to take into, consideration the fact that like it'll most likely be an arborist or somebody with rock climbing equipment accessing the casualty. But that casualty is not going to be wearing that harness. So how are you going to attach to them? How are you going to work with their equipment? And then what are you going to need to bring them to you and get them down? So we talked about that. We talked about, my accident back in 2013 that almost killed me, and talked about the fact that, I'm a base jumper, but I'm also, an employer and a husband and a father. And, there's just a lot of risk analysis that goes into that. But the cool thing is that, it all segues, interestingly enough, because arboriculture is not exactly, the quote safest industry in the world. In fact, it's one of the most dangerous. So there are a lot of parallels from, adventure sports, which is one part of my life, and then arboriculture, which is another part.
Are you still base jumping like recently?
Recently, last season, I was out in Squamish and got, I think, a couple off the chief. But way less active than I was, that's for sure. But, that's going to change too. Oh, this is the thing about drinking beer on a podcast. You're going to end up burping a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We need a burp button.
I had a couple.
Yeah, but so I'm going to keep base jumping. I still love base jumping. And I'm probably going to start base jumping more. Reason being, my company has grown, and it's at the point now where I've got some really key personnel in place. And also, my youngest son is 1.5. So he's kind of getting to that age where, he's a little more mobile. It's a little easier to go on road trips and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah, you have to. You're going to love him. We named him Cedar. Not really after the tree, just because we, liked the name, but there it is.
It is.
I got a kid with a tree name. It happened.
Cedar and
I'm an
Titan.
arborist.
You kind of have to.
Yep.
So
and
you
Cedar's
mentioned
middle name is Wild, and Titan's middle name is Ruckus. So I know what I'm in for. Let's go.
Yeah, you set it out there. You set that intention out there.
Let's go. Bring it on, boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now you have your new, sort of quote new, I guess, company Saha.
Yeah. So
we haven't really told anybody.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I
like
haven't
who you are, who I am. We
yet.
should probably start at the beginning. Maybe just give us a quick rundown of like who the heck you are, if someone out there does not know who Johnny
Nobody
Corthius
knows
is.
me. I'm not exactly
People have seen you
famous.
around, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in a course or whatever. But I don't know. My name's Johnny Corthius. I'm an ISA certified arborist and a rope access technician. Been an arborist over 20 years. What else? I'm a husband, father, former professional athlete, current action sports adventurer / enthusiast, I guess you could say.
All the things.
And I'm also a rescue specialist with Canada Task Force 2. So with
I
a combination,
forgot you were doing that.
And lead instructor with Arboriculture Canada. I was a former lead instructor with North American Training Solutions, and now I'm a little bit more of a free agent stateside. But yeah, basically just I'm a full-time fun haver out there and doing the arborism thing, and then working with a pretty awesome handful of companies now at this stage on either product development or just testing and consulting and stuff like that. So pretty involved with the folks over at Edelrid, back and forth to Europe a couple times a year with them, working on a variety of different things. And then I'm also recently been inducted into the Husqvarna H team, which is an international team of arborists / trainers / teachers, demonstrators, which I'm really excited about. And I do some stuff for Clogger and Zeal Optics and hikes and stuff like that. So lots going on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's pretty new. Awesome for you. I remember we were doing some Husqvarna stuff together a little bit.
So Husqvarna had the squad, right?
Right.
The Canadian version of the H team is called the H squad. But this is big boy pants now. Pretty cool stuff. It's a contracted thing too. You know, you got to
Yeah.
make agreements and there's deliverables that are expected of you and real responsibilities. But also at the same time, like I'm pretty used to that with the organizations I've worked with or represented before. So I'm really excited. And like when I totally first got into the industry, my very first chainsaw was a Husqvarna 345. So full circle, man. Here I am 20 years later and getting saws in the mail. It's pretty cool.
So what's in the schedule then for stuff like H-Team or Edelrid or just in general? You got any big things coming up the next while?
Big-ish. I mean, I'll be back and forth to Europe for Edelrid in February, I think. March, I'm going to be doing some task force stuff, teaching chainsaw. April, I'm going to be at Arborfest Expo in North Carolina. So New Jersey crane experts putting that one on. I'm going to be teaching pruning. Yeah, on one day I'll be doing pruning, and on the next day I'll be doing aerial rescue. So I'll be, I'm basically there for New Jersey crane expert. I was
Like crane
invited.
pruning or like actual?
No. It's like tree pruning, like normal tree pruning.
Dude, I should come even too for that. I love pruning, you know me.
I invited you, remember? But then you also
I know,
said like I
but
might also be at the ISA conference and everything else. So
Okay, well maybe I should come because that would be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Sweet.
But yeah, handful of dates. I'll be in Slovenia, I think in November, and then like I said, back and forth to Germany a couple times, and then lots back and forth stateside.
Why Slovenia? Is that Edelrid?
Husqvarna stuff. That's where the H-Team annual get together type thing's going to be. So I'm already looking forward to that. Plus, I've never been to Slovenia. That's one country that I got to mark off the list. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
Slovenia. I don't know anything
I
about
bet you
Slovenia.
they've got good beer, right?
Oh, dude. I want to go to Czech Republic so bad. That's my list
Yeah.
is Oktoberfest, Germany,
Okay.
and like Czech
We can make that
Republic,
happen.
Austria. Gotta hit
Austria,
those
that's
up.
easy.
I mean,
Yeah, that's right there.
I wouldn't say no to Slovenia. I would probably find something awesome there.
Okay. Well, that's the plan.
Yeah, so if anyone out there doesn't know, I met you at an Arboriculture Canada course.
Buddy.
It's crazy because it was like, 5 years ago?
Yep.
And I got out of the fire department and it was like, I had to find a new job. And like everything, right? Like this podcast, like everything. I'm like, well, now that I want to be an arborist, let's go full throttle. And that pretty much matched up with you and our relationship.
Yep.
I had I got the decal maker out right away. A friend had a decal maker and it was like already on Instagram at Kurt the Arborist. Here we go.
Yep.
Full commitment.
I remember Dwayne and I, we said the same thing. We were like, hey, he's
Who's this guy?
going for it. Oh, sorry, I swore already, but Kurt's going for it. He's making the claim, like he's trending in that direction. And here you are, you own a tree company and you're on all sorts of
looking back.
podcasts and you're repping real brands. You moved quick, man. I'm super proud of you. It was cool.
Yeah.
And it's really,
Life feels too
honestly,
short.
it's like an honor to have been part of the journey with you.
Dude, yeah, you're my mentor. I mention you on every podcast that I do because people always ask about, how'd you get yourself going, build yourself up? Because it's usually the story of me leaving the fire department, transitioning, and how I became an arborist, how I started my own business and built all this. And I'm like, well, mentor is huge.
Yeah.
And that's where I always mention you. So you were a great help, definitely for me. If anyone doesn't know, I took a bunch of courses out. That first course was production, tree removal, and rigging.
Yep.
And then just knocked off tons of courses, then trained the trainer, and then just loving that. And then came down.
I'll never forget when I met you, because in the course, for those that have taken Arbor Canada courses, or if you haven't, like we do introductions and we really do get to know each other. And by the time we were done in our introductions, I had a feeling. I was like,
really?
This guy's, yeah. Because remember how you had spoken about you had gotten a job with a different company and it didn't last very long. I believe that it was Bartlett, right?
No, it was
another company.
It was
really
Davy Tree, and I worked 2 days. They let me cut down a massive spruce on day 2, right in the middle of the street. Like,
hell yeah,
they didn't care. It looked awesome. And then I got back to the office there on my second day, and I was like, "This place is kind of fun. I don't mind driving an hour and a half or whatever it was to get there." And they're like, "Yeah, you're fired because you got decals in your truck that says you're trying to find tree work." Like they thought I was an arborist already. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
I mean, I worked for Davy as well. I know, I'm one of those type of guys, former Davy alumni. But honestly, man, what stood out about you, number one, you were super open in your intros. You were very humble. But what was cool is that, you had some, like really distinctly, the words that you were saying were along the lines of like, I've had some experiences in the industry already, and I have a vision for where I want it, like what I think it should look like. And I already have some ideas as to what I don't think it should look like. And that really resonated with me because I'd been through something similar over a longer period of time, because I'd worked for several small companies in the area that I came up in. Then I ended up moving to Davey Tree, and that was an extremely positive experience for me because I was actually introduced to real training and real professionalism and, knowledge. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I see, like, there was a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And they were gracious enough to kind of sponsor my education and get me certified. And it was cool to see you, in a much shorter period of time, you'd already gone through that cycle and had those realizations. And that's actually, honestly, man, why I kind of picked you out and why I asked you if you could come down, shoot some photos, and just get you involved, because I had a funny feeling, that you, Sean, Emmy, Neil, like there are several students that really stand out and like, this is something different. They've got potential. So I'm glad I was right.
Oh yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I like something you said there about like Davey, because that was why I chose Davey, because I had an opportunity to start with Davey or another private company, but I liked Davey because they had, because they're a big organization, they had like things in place to do like training courses and set you up. And it reminded me of like the fire department where you could kind of go in and everything was kind of structured and whatever. So it was kind of a cool transition, even though it only lasted 2 days. I never got any courses in, but then I think that fueled me, because then I was like, you know what, screw this. Like, I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. I was just like tired of authority. So I was like, let's just go.
The key is
we can do this.
Work with others. Don't work for others. I'm like really, I'm kind of adamant about that too with my team. Inevitably with our job or everybody really, you end up getting asked, well, what do you do? And, I'm an arborist. And that's almost always met with, well, what is that? And then you say, oh, but like I prune trees and I remove trees and, everything. I'm a tree person, tree surgeon, tree doctor, whatever you want to call it. And then, say, oh, where do you do that? And I ask, like, don't say that you work for me, because we work together. Like, the way that I've structured my company, and I've told all my guys this too, like we're working towards something bigger. We're not just trying to pay my mortgage. We're not just trying to get more work. We're trying to build something that can facilitate, learning and adventure and good times for all of us, not just the owner of the company. And that's why we work together. We're a team.
I love that. And I love how like Saha is kind of like reinventing, like you're creating your own unique business out of that. And that's something I think we also share in common, is like you're trying to push the lines. You're not just doing what everyone else has kind of done. You're like, hey, I like this. I like this. I can build upon what I already have for experience in the past. Why not create something completely new? Exactly. And you're like, let's do Saha. And it's like, it makes sense, right? Like the task force 2, the rescue stuff, the rope access, the arborist, like everything. You can put it all into there. And Southern Alberta high angle, that's what it stands for, right?
Yeah, we can do it all. And, the core of our business is definitely like elite level arboriculture. And I don't use that term like flippantly either. Like I really mean it. Like not only do we invest in training, like real training from places like Arbor Canada, but we also invest in real training outside of arboriculture. And it's not necessarily to make us better tree climbers, because that's a very like shallow, finite task. My concept with it is to utilize different industries and different established practices to open your mind, because the way that, Spratt and IRATA do certain things, we as arborists have a lot to learn from that. The way that institutions, for instance, like a fire department or like what the folks at Task Force 2 are doing, there is something to be learned there. There's a regimented development process. It's tracked, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then on the other end of things, my experience coming from, action sports is it's the opposite of that. You learn at your own pace. You do it all on your own. Boom, boom, boom. So there's all of these values. And that's why, my team and I, we'll go rock climb and we'll work on a cliffside together. That's a wicked team building exercise. We rig hot air balloons all the time. My entire staff can basically assemble launch, land, pack, and help troubleshoot hot air balloons, whether I'm there or not. And that's just kind of a part of what we're doing. So I'm really excited. The rebrand is official. Website's up. We already got some quote requests coming in. So yeah, from here on out, it's no longer just, Jayco Industries. Before that, it was Corthius Tree Care. It's Southern Alberta High Angle, and everything's under there.
Nice. Corthius Tree Care. Is your dad still running that?
Yeah, that's his now. So cool. That company, when I finished up at Davie, I moved back 2007. We got the wheels rolling on that. We went real hard. But then it was about 2012, I had realized, the company's great, it's still got legs and all that type of stuff. But in 2012, I decided I really wanted to take a stab at like the whole pro athlete type traveling adventurer type deal. So that's what I did. And it worked out well for 6 months until I had a parachute not open and damn near killed myself. So then there was a few years there where, there was some recovery. But it was actually on the tail end of a whole bunch of those surgeries after that happened that I guess I forcefully had my mind open to the fact that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot to learn. And I went and attended another Arbor Canada course. And at that time it was aerial rescue, and it was led by a guy named James Luce. And immediately, like I did with you, he picked me out of the crowd. And he was like, why don't you help me with this? And then by the end of that, he was contacting the owners of the company and said, hey, we got to get this guy in trainer. And one thing led to another. And then I was an arboriculture lead trainer, Arbor Canada lead trainer. And then ended up working with Nats immediately afterwards. And down to the States I went, had a work visa, worked on forest fires, did a ton of training for them, traveled lots, got a shit ton of experience really quickly. And then from there on, it's just been like crazy. So came back home. Well, started a family. We were living in SoCal, started a family, and then came back here, and then kind of picked up where I left off with the arboriculture services community here, just under Jayco Industries, which is just, my named company. Yeah. But then about a year ago, so like kind of in the middle of COVID, towards the end of COVID, I was thinking, man, I feel like we could do something really special here, because the people were falling into place. The clientele had fallen into place, and I felt like, man, the market, the equipment, my position in the industry, it all kind of came to a head. And I was like, okay, it's time. And ever since then, it's just been full steam ahead, and I'm really excited.
Cool, man. That's great. I share this similar experiences like that, where things just seem to align or come together. It's hard to explain, because I feel like everyone else in the world should think like us, or you think people think like you do, but not everyone does, and everyone fits in their own places within the world, and they're happy just to come to work and do their thing and go home, and they don't want to worry about stuff, or other things are more important to them. I don't know, but there's something about our brains, I don't know what it is, that just want to keep changing it up. I don't know, like building upon the previous thing, reinventing it, like you were mentioning before with all your guys and doing different training and things. It makes a lot of sense, because when you're locked in, like I was in the fire department, it is just like you're doing kind of sort of monotonous tasks, especially on the ambulance, where everything's like protocol driven. It's like, here's a symptom, this is what you do. And then I always had this fear around like the rescue truck for the fire department, because we were in integrated departments, we did ambulance and fire, but the rescue was like, here's a bunch of tools. We've picked out the best tools, with the most versatile, whatever. And then we don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And then you got to figure it out when you get there, as a team.
You can't.
Whereas
That's crazy. Yeah.
Which is similar to like arboriculture, and arboriculture is kind of the Wild West, like you were saying, compared to rope access, these different things where there's more like governing bodies and things that are kind of structuring stuff. So I kind of took advantage and exploited the fact that arboriculture was the Wild West, because you could just kind of throw yourself out there and get going. Yep. But, maybe that leads us into our kind of the point of some of the conversation here with the ISA, but I don't know. I mean, I still would have followed some sort of program or protocol probably to be an arborist if I had to, but if it was you had to go to school.
Those programs are there. You just have to really look for them, right? You must have felt that. Yes, I know. And that is what is so strange about it, is like, if you want to be a welder, right? You sign up for a formal apprenticeship. You enroll in
Yeah.
a Red Seal program. You have a set apprenticeship. At the end of it, you write exams. You are a journeyman. Now you can go be that thing that you are. With arboriculture, there's none
in
of
Alberta.
that. You can
at
just,
least.
yeah, well, it's not just here, but yes, I know what you mean by that. You can just call yourself an arborist and then get right after it. And, certified arborist versus arborist, there's a big difference there. Or certified arborist to random tree cutter with a pickup truck, there's a big difference that we know. But the general public still hasn't yet caught on to that. And, that's hundreds of years, unfortunately, of tradition. And we need to break that because there's a big difference. You can be a tree cutter, but you're not an arborist.
And there is no like official labels out there, that, well, maybe there are, but it seems like we can just throw them around as much as we want here in Alberta anyway. But I think people have to take it upon themselves to, make sure they're doing the right thing. They're pruning trees properly. They have the skills. They have all the stuff in place. Because I think you can still be a good arborist without the ISA, or if you just run a pickup truck and whatever. Because I know like people would always throw down that label of like, oh, you just got a pickup truck and chainsaw arborist. But then I was kind of like, you know what, man? I've had a pickup truck type, company. I don't have a chipper, and I think I'm a pretty good arborist now.
Yep.
Like, it's hard though because I don't compare myself to others, and I don't have a standard kind of business with a ton of different people and that sort of thing. Although I'd like to expand a little bit in the future, maybe, but just because I'm curious of what it's like to have some leadership. But anyways, yeah.
I think.
What do you think?
I think that there. So yeah, number one, I agree that there's a big difference, and I also think that you don't need to have an ISA certification to be an excellent arborist. In fact, some of the most knowledgeable people in the industry that I know are just now coming to the forefront and then getting that ISA certification. And between you, me, and the plant or whatever, like it's not exactly the most groundbreaking content to get your ISA certification. But really, the way that I approach that is like the ISA serves a function, and so does a credentialing program. No, I don't think that it's necessary to have that, PR, blah, 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 whatever number behind you. But it does kind of go a long way in terms of showing that you've made a commitment to something. And it also, albeit it is a low bar, but it's still a bar. And our industry needs to have a bar, to measure against. Yeah. And like,
what if there was no ISA? I mean, like, then
exactly.
there's nothing.
That's my entire point. You've got it. If there was nothing, man, where would we be? Where are the conferences? Where's the collective bodies of knowledge? Where are the people compiling this data? Who are the reports and the papers being sent to? Also, how do the rest of us even weigh each other? Not against one another in a competitive sense, but like, if you meet another certified arborist, you can at least know that you have a very basic, fundamental understanding of not only trees, but the practice of arboriculture. And that's why I think that there is value in it. I know some people that are adamantly anti ISA. In fact, I know some trainers that are anti ISA, and they bring forth, various arguments that, back up their perspective. And I try to respect everybody's perspective. And some of these people are extremely knowledgeable. So I would just say, there is an answer, and everybody's answer is valid, but sometimes I think we need to be really careful as to like, where do those answers come from? Why have we come to those conclusions? Are we, we just need to be careful in that we're not negating maybe like long-term or broad overview type benefits due to, small little things. It's easy for you and I right now to figure out some things that you and I disagree on, and we can just derail this entire conversation. Or maybe we could focus on a few things we do agree on, build a foundation, and then move forward from there. But that's just my opinion. But like with the whole pickup truck, like tree cutter thing, I understand where you're coming from in that like you do a lot of arboriculture out of the back of your pickup truck or a flat deck trailer. And I think like a lot of us have at least a at least a brief history, if not a long-term history of doing something similar. That isn't where that term comes from. The term comes from somebody who has entered into an industry that has no barrier to entry, and they're calling themselves, or they're flaunting themselves, or claiming that they are, among the people that are taking it seriously and professionally. I mean, dude, look at Emmy. The guy's doing like cutting edge arboriculture from a bicycle.
Yeah.
It's not about the pickup truck. It's just an old saying. Like, that guy, he's incredibly knowledgeable. He's extremely passionate. His ethics and morals are like on point, and he's kicking ass off of a bicycle and a bob trailer. Like, mad props to him. So don't take it like that. It just, there's a difference between people who have committed to like learning something and practicing something, and people that are just trying to make a buck.
Yeah, I don't really get offended or anything like that. I mean, I know what I am and everything now, and what I've done. I'll try harder. It's all, yeah. You gotta try and crack me down a bit more. Okay, well, what do you think as an employer? Because obviously you have Saha and you employ guys. So from that perspective, because maybe some people out there listening are thinking, is it worth it to get the ISA certification? It takes 3 years of hours to do it, so immediately you can't even jump into the ISA if you wanted to.
So it's 2 years, right? It's 2 years of 2 years of full-time work experience. And then there's ways that can be shorter. Like, for instance, if you have a degree in horticulture, or a diploma, right, in horticulture. Yeah. And then there's other ways that you can, prove that you have relevant experience enough to write this test. And it's a relatively arbitrary exam that has been put forth by the same organization that is giving you your credential. But does it show me as an employer that you've, at least taken a little bit of initiative towards acquiring knowledge? Again, what is the reason that we do things, right? Like I didn't become a certified arborist because I wanted a certification. I became a certified arborist because that was the byproduct of me acquiring certain knowledge, right? And then qualifying for the ability to take a test and get a credential that is internationally recognized. I don't think that it's the end all and be all. In fact, a lot of people will say that, like, your ISA certification shows that you're like a black belt. I would actually disagree. I think your ISA certification, qualifies you officially. It allows you to wear the gi, right? Yeah. But it doesn't mean that your journey is over. It means that your journey has just begun. But you have to start somewhere. So why not start with a recognized, foundation? And that's kind of what I view an ISA certification as. Because one certified arborist to another, I mean, I've got 21 years of experience. You'll get certified this year. You have one, but we both have the same certification. That's both a benefit and a detriment, right?
Yeah, I like the ISA and like the handbook when you go through it, because it has a good overview of kind of arboriculture in general too, which is nice. It gives you like a good foundation for everything, right? I mean, it's talking about tree planting, it's talking about some soil, some ID, and all this kind of stuff. So like, there's no reason why you couldn't be a rock star arborist, climbing trees, removing them, and even know how to prune and everything. But you may not have that other rounded knowledge behind some of that other things, which at least gives you a good base if you're someone newer in the industry. Yeah. But
and I think you're referring to the study guide, right? Like the ISA study guide.
Yeah, just to be a certified arborist.
Yeah. So that's the document that most people will study in preparation for their exam. But I will say, to the ISA's credit, they've done a tremendous job of building out online courses, which anybody can take them. You can just sign up. They're like $20, and they're going to give you enough of an understanding, for instance, in soils, that you'll be able to take some of that knowledge and then apply it to water theory. And you'll then be able to apply those two things that you've learned towards managing roots. And once you understand the roots, you're going to probably get a little bit more curious about, for instance, biology. And then inevitably, once you understand the biology, physiology, and phenology of a tree, now you start figuring out how your knowledge can impact what you're actually doing in the field. Pruning. Okay, well, now we're pruning trees, but I've pruned this one 2 or 3 times and it's still declining. What's going on? I need to cut this thing down, but there's no drop zone. Well, shoot, I got to learn how to climb. Now I got to learn how to rig. Now I got to learn how to fell. Now I got to learn, it's neat how any one given domain within our job of arboriculture will lend itself or at least steer you into another one. And that's why I think, again, the ISA certification is a good starting place, because it shows that you know at least a bare minimum in each of the however many domains that it takes to, be somewhat competent and effective. And also to not be out there just slaying and destroying trees, because I kind of love trees,
I like knowing the why behind why I'm doing something, right? So like, obviously you could jump on a crew and they could show you how to remove a tree and how to climb it and cut it down. And you could be great at it. But if you're going to prune it, it's like, eventually you're going to get to this point where it's like, do I prune this tree? Do I remove this tree? And I know I felt bad when it came to a point and I didn't know the answer and I had to go and figure it out. I didn't have the experience to kind of figure that out, which led me personally, not down the ISA road, but into more of a permaculture, soil health, insect ID type stuff. We took that course together, actually, the insect pest management or something like that. Was that what it was called?
Tree and insect,
Yeah, amazing. So I remember you asked a question actually in that course in regards to compost tea and things, because at the bottom of every sheet, it would say like what pest, what disease it was. And the solution was like some chemical, but then it was crossed out. It's like, oh no, you can't do that anymore. And I'm like, so what's the solution here?
Imidacloprid. No, you need malathion. No, you need acetamiprid. No, it's like, well, Jesus, like what are we going to do here?
So what do we do? So we start peeling back the layers, and you brought up the compost tea with, I think it was Arborwood. They were saying was doing something like that.
Yeah, he's blowing it up.
I just went down the rabbit hole.
Eco-tea program. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh man, I fell in love with the tree health stuff. So now it's like, and now I go out there, and it developed a new part of my business even where I'll charge people for health consultations. And I just did one the other day, and I just go out and hang out with the people and look at their trees. They show me them. I talk about them. We talk about the soil health, things they can do to amend the ground, and or for long-term health. And they don't know, but they're getting kind of a bit of a permaculture consult.
Exactly.
And
I do that
been
too.
Great.
Yeah, I work a lot of that permaculture theory into it, and there yet again, in practice, you had referenced, the rope access end of things, so the Sprat and Irata track, or however it is that you're going through that journey. But then on the other end of arboriculture, you have horticulture, and you specifically have permaculture, and each one of those areas is going to lend itself to a greater body of knowledge that's going to help you be an even more effective arborist. Which is why, as arborists, we really need to just open our minds, because you might take a course about gardening, and you're going to pick up some interesting thing about soil pH. And that's going to lead you down to the concept of basic soil chemistry. And then all of a sudden you're going to roll onto a job site, onto a consult, and someone's going to say, we got to cut down my spruce tree. And you're going to look at it and say, well, actually it's a larch, and you just moved into this house. It's not dead. It's going to be fine next spring. And they're going to be blown away. Right. Yeah. And then you're going to show up the next year, and you're going to notice some things, and then you're going to test the soil, and you're going to tell them that they have, a 7.4 pH. And they'll be like, so we're going to throw down a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Before you know it, you got a healthy soil. The tree is still standing. The homeowners are blown away, and you got to flex a little bit of knowledge. And it's win, 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 win. But you would have never gotten there if you were just a tree removal specialist, because you would have rolled up, looked at this thing with no needles, and cut it down. So,
oh man, having that knowledge too, even if, someone out there listening is wants to go out and expand their business or somehow diversify a little bit, even a little bit of knowledge in that sense, and then charging for a little bit of a consult to access that part of the market is so awesome, because you go there and then it gives you the time where, you're already on this pedestal. They already put you on this level where you're the knowledge guy, and you're going to tell them what to do, and they're going to ask questions. So they already kind of trust in you, and they want to get their money's worth and whatever. But then you build this relationship with them, and then they love you. And it's they're not even going to call another guy to get a quote on the work that's going to result from that.
Yeah.
So then you've already gotten paid to go there. You're not doing a free quote. And then you can follow up and do the tree work. And then because you've invested the time with them, I find, and you build that relationship, they're so into it. They tell people, you get way more word of mouth just from doing these consults. And then you go back and do repeat business, and you can encourage them to plant new things. It's you set up your own program with these customers, as opposed to going and just slaying a tree down and being like, that's sick. I don't know. The book says 50%. If it's dead, I'll just cut it down. Yeah. But do you really need to?
Super good points, right? But I would say there, like charging for quotes is tricky. Charging
Yeah.
for consults is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So there's a bit of a difference there. Now, in some markets, demand is so high and expertise is also so high, right? Comparatively,
Yeah.
people know what an arborist is. People know the difference between, say, an arborist and a municipal specialist and a BCMA. Maybe in that area, there's an awesome history of horticulture or whatever. So people understand that, like, oh, there are people out there that are experts at this thing, and that's worth money. Just like, if you wanted to get a consult for somebody to renovate your home, it's going to cost money. If you want to go to a specialty doctor's appointment before a chiropractor even adjusts you, they're going to charge you a consult fee because they want to kind of get to know you, and that takes time. Now, in certain markets, it's really hard to justify that position, especially early on, and that can be a challenging time, especially for a lot of like dedicated up and coming arborists. Now, one method is to just say, quotes are free, but if we're going to do a consult, you got to pay me.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you can earn a reputation if you take advantage of the opportunity to take what you know and continue to speak it out loud. And sometimes I do consults or quotes, which rapidly turn into consults.
Yeah.
And I don't send
We've
a bill
all been
for
there.
them. Right. We've all
And
been
what?
there. Right. But then I don't send a bill, even though I did that consult, because I've earned the right to be there with that person. I've taught them a thing or two, and now I have an opportunity to go and do that thing. And sometimes I think, and I'm going to relate this to another part of life here shortly, but we really need to make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot. We kind of need to keep an eye on the broader market and also like the general public. And I've chosen to just try to be as effective as possible within that realm. So I think that although you're right, if we're consulting and I really need to take the time, it's going to cost some money. And that's fair.
Yeah.
But if that's the difference between you getting in the door, right, and them just calling the next tree cutting specialist and they show up and they just remove the tree, in my opinion, you've lost an opportunity and you've lost and you've lost a tree, which means that opportunity is gone forever. So I think that there's a give and take to that. And, I'm the kind of guy that really embraces a lot of nuance in life. And I just would caution, especially up and coming arborists, your time, like my time, like your time, like everybody else's is valuable. But also, again, ask yourself why it is that you're doing this thing, because there may be opportunities that present themselves for free only one time. And I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I didn't take like a value first approach, because I've done a ton of free stuff. And now I'm at the point where I don't do a lot of free stuff, but I had to earn the right to not do free stuff. If that makes sense.
I think it depends on like your timing. I mean, if you're new in the industry and trying to break into it and trying to get your business built enough where you're not worried about getting jobs, like you're going to be treating things differently than when you're, you got too much on your plate, right? So in the beginning, obviously, like, you're going to be quick response. Probably everything's going to be free as far as quotes. And you probably also don't have a lot of experience and knowledge at that point to be even charging for consults. Like that's going to come with time where you start to realize, you have this knowledge and it's taking a long time to really explain it. You're getting so many calls. It's of course, that's when it kind of transitions into charging for them. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone new, busting out consult fees right away until they're pretty confident they've done the reps with people on free quotes to do that. And I know with us, with Cochrane Tree Care, we didn't do that in the beginning either, but it did get to a point where it's like, I got to start saving some time here. Yeah. And we try and filter it like through our online software where we have a little drop down bar. It says, do you want a free quote or consult for pruning or removing, or do you have questions about your tree's health, insect disease, whatever? It doesn't make them pay or anything right away or initiate that, but it just gives us a heads up. And then they kind of already get in that mindset of like, oh, I'm asking something different than free because it said free quote or consult. It comes to us, and then they get an automatic email reply that says, hey, just so you know, there might be a fee for if you want us to come check out your tree and assess it, whatever. And then they're already pre-prepped. And then we talk to them usually on email just real quick if they're not already requesting a consult at this point now, which is great. And then almost everyone goes for it. I think it's just kind of how you word the flow and get in there, and then
Yep.
boom. I don't
and
even
it's how you
go
present
to
your business as well, right? That's
Yeah.
a big part of it too, right? If all you have, if all you have is a tree service landing page and you just list tree pruning, tree removals, custom chipping, and stump grinding, people are probably going to be less likely to hire you for a consult. Whereas if you do list things like an integrated, pest and tree health management program, or if you take the time to write maybe some articles for your local newspaper, or take the time to teach some free classes at the college in town, or jump in on grade school from time to time and teach biology, very simple, like this is a conifer and this is like little things like that really go a long way to establishing your reputation. And then I'm all about establish your reputation and establish your value first, then move forward, right? Whereas if you do it the other way around, you inevitably end up missing out on a lot of opportunities. And I mean, I could give you a ton of different examples, but I've traveled the world because of things that I've sort of just accidentally said yes to and kind of did for free. And then that led to wild adventures and pay scales that I would never even be able to submit being offered. So, just
I had that
approach
phase.
it with some nuance and balance is all I would say.
For sure. And go by feel too. If you can, I know when I first implemented the consults, it was because I was almost getting upset or triggered from these people where it's oh, I got so much time. You didn't tell me, I don't want to be doing consults right now. But then I kind of got it organized and set up like we were just talking about. But then now it's if I do go to a quote and it turns into a little bit of a consult, of course I'm not going to stay there forever and, pamper them, whatever. But I'm just still going to give them the answers and be honest and, cater to that. And honestly, I just believe in the good karma of it. It's do the good and it comes back later on somehow.
It will.
I don't even know, but things just start to snowball in a good direction when I'm not so stressed about it. And it's not about what am I not getting? It's what can I do to provide help for everyone else?
If you shift
and
your
then
focus,
it just comes to you.
then you're always winning. Right? If your goal is
and you feel good
deliver
about it.
value and be a bright part of somebody's day and transfer a little bit of knowledge, and also it's really good practice for you, man. One way to retain information is to communicate it. And every time that you have an opportunity to talk about the things that you've learned with a client, it's just putting it in there a little bit deeper. Those basics, those fundamentals are getting drilled in. And only once you have a really good foundation are you able to then build on top of it. And what I find now at the stage where I'm at, because, I kind of took a long road to where I'm at now, I can be, exposed to certain things one time and it's there. I'll have it forever because I have so much context that it just slides into position, It's actually really cool. If you take the time, you invest the time to do it right, it's pretty cool how effective you can be later.
Oh, I know what you mean. Just in life in general, I've heard quotes or I've heard, lessons of people telling you certain things, but you're just not ready to hear them until you have some things aligned. Yep. And you got to pick up all of those little things of knowledge and always be moving forward. And all of a sudden it's this one quote or somebody will say something to you and it's oh, it just clicks. You're whoa, it sinks in. You've got it. You've locked it in and you're wow.
Yeah.
And it could be something super simple, but you just didn't have that experience yet or that context to
to
and
actually, you're a photographer, so you understand photography can either cost a fortune or be free.
Yeah.
And what's the difference? Right? Well, the person that's charging a fortune could be delivering an absolutely superior product, right? Or they're experienced enough that they know what it's worth. And on the other side, the free photographer, it could be taking crappy photos, or that free photographer could actually just be really excited about the project and ends up delivering an even better product. And they still don't even charge for it because they're just excited to do it. When you first started coming down to Lethbridge to jump in on job sites, every time you were I'll come for free. I just want to come and take pictures. Just let me get there. And I always said, no, I'm going to give you some money. You're going to take some money, or you're going to take some gear, or you're going to take something for it, because there is a skill set that I recognized. And I was also benefiting from that relationship. Right. So when you have an opportunity, for instance, to chin wag with your customers, they're also providing you with an opportunity. right? You are not God. You are another human being, and you get an opportunity now to talk to them about something that you're passionate about. So get in there and use that opportunity to flex your knowledge and gain a deeper understanding. And inevitably, every trade becomes a people job, right?
Oh, man.
Like
It's
I
all about making
own
people
a
happy.
tree service. It's all about managing and understanding people, be it my clients, my employees, the CRA, like whatever it is, you got to learn how to deal with people. So that's good practice for you. So I just take, everything that comes in the door as an opportunity. And just to finalize that point, so you've got free quotes within your service area. If you got to drive, you got to drive. And I think that you should charge for that. But there's consults, which is like your time and your advice, potentially an arborist report. Maybe it's a hazard assessment, which obviously carries its own, charge for a deliverable. But then also we need to realize that not everybody's needs are necessarily the same. So for instance, some people really need you to come and have a look at their tree because it's going to fall on their home any minute. Other people really want you to come and look at their caragana hedge because it's annoying them, right? Yeah. Okay, well, you also have to have the wherewithal to understand that like there's priorities here. And like, you may end up disappointing some people because you can't have a look at their hedge in time because you're dealing with pulling a tree out of somebody's bedroom or something. But I think that if we're respectful and that we're honest and we're transparent and we become good communicators, any human being saying that to any other human being would understand. And furthermore, what I've done, I just made it up. That's the beauty, by the way, of owning a company. You just get to make up the rules and see if they work. On my quote request form, I have a skip the line. I need service right now for $1,000.
Oh yeah.
If you want me, like, I'll come and have a look at your caragana hedge in a neighborhood where the average home goes for $2.3 million. I'll come and have a look at your roses. Sure, it's good. There you go. Because if they want to be priority one, then I provide an opportunity for them to be priority one.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool. It's a nice place
but
to
I would
be,
still do the quote for free anyway. But if they want it now, because you know how it is, I'm sure, and everyone who listens to this podcast is going to understand. Some people wanted you here yesterday, and they're pissed off that you didn't read their mind and show up without them even calling you. And it's like,
the insurance companies usually find that out because me and Sean are out there pulling trees off houses on a long weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And the insurance company won't answer the phone, and then they get a nice healthy bill for dropping everything to go and do that.
And the thing is that at the end of the day, though, when you start to learn more about how the insurance game works, because again, like I've been servicing. Well, not only is it a pain in the ass, but you have to be really careful about the way you approach that because the homeowner can end up being the one that suffers. Yeah. There is something to be said about after hours response for sure. And, there's definitely something to be said about charging what high risk work is worth. Don't get me wrong. But you just have to be careful because a lot of insurance companies are really good at finding loopholes and things like that. And if you move too quickly and do too much, sometimes homeowners can get hung with completely ridiculous bills. So like, I'm not saying what you've ever done is right or wrong, and everybody has their own approach, but just really watch out because it isn't what I really try to instill on people that are coming up, especially like young business owners in my area. It is not you against the client. It's not you against the other tree companies. Like you got to get rid of that type of combative thinking. And once you do, your job will just get like way more fun, Don't make it a you versus anybody.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's a good mindset. Good mindset to have. Okay, well, I'm thinking about changing topics here a little bit. My beer's almost empty.
Fire
I
away.
have to crack the other one. Did you drink your beer, by the way?
No, I still got an unopened one, buddy. I'm just getting warmed up.
I'm cold in my
This
basement.
is my second podcast of the day too, man. I've been on this is
just
4
double
hours.
podcasting,
Let's roll.
charging $1,000 for emergency quotes. No big deal.
No, not emergency. If it's an emergency, I show up for free. If it's an emergency job, I'm there for free, for sure. But if you are really, really
just one level under
pushy,
emergency.
No.
Yeah,
If
you're that guy.
No. Let me be very clear. If a tree is an imminent hazard, I'm there, because
Yeah.
the last thing that I want is to be a part of a system that ends up having somebody get hurt or lose a home or, heaven forbid, something worse. But if somebody is like in a big rush and they don't want to wait for their turn in line, which is like what we learned how to do in like grade 1, I will allow you to budge in that line for a handsome fee. That's what that's for. But like, no, if you're panicking, man, I'm there. I'm there to help. It's not that.
You know what that makes me think of is like when nice people, if people are nice, they get better service and a better price.
Every
You know?
time.
Every
single
time.
Pretty well.
So when anyone comes to my
within a
house
margin, but
to
yeah.
do anything, I am like ready to be the nicest person in the world. Do anything
Coffee's
to help
on.
them.
Can I get you
Everything.
something? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Because I know how I feel when I'm going pruning and someone's like, hey, and they're checking on you and like, can we help you do anything? You know, grandma starts trying to haul debris and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
come on. It's okay.
How about cookies? I'll
Yeah.
handle the branches. Let's get some cookies rolling or whatever, some baked goods.
Yeah. And don't worry, I'm going to knock $200 off. Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah.
And oh man, you get the assholes.
I've
that
had some of the
just,
best snacks on the job because
What's
the
your best?
homeowner
What's
is
your
motivated.
top snacks?
Homemade apple fritters. Oh my God. This
How
woman.
do you even make that?
Oh, and she was really pretty too. She was like, I mean, she was in her 50s probably for sure, but like you could tell she took good care of herself. We were doing a big job. Like, I think it was like 14 big, nasty, declining columnars, something, poplars probably. We had a crane going and we were swinging loads like over the house. It was pretty high level. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And she just brought out like fresh, warm, baked apple fritters. I'll never forget them.
Dang.
I'm salivating right now. It was so good. Yeah. And then also some cheese buns. I've had some cheese buns come out that will knock you flat. So yeah, props to all the homeowners out there bringing out snacks for us
just
lowly arborists.
And you can't even
We can
really
use
ask. You just got to bring them because we'll be like, no, we don't want anything. But
just bring. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can I get
Once
you
it's
anything?
there.
No, we're totally set up. I got cookies.
yeah, we're
That's
good,
great.
we're good.
If you want to just put them over there, that'd be super good. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it just comes down to being nice to people, man, making people happy.
Yep.
Doing good things get better. Honestly, I had a day today that was like not going well. I mean, I was probably a little bit, anxious about the technology and getting stuff set up for the podcast. That's why I'm like, we got to do something with Johnny because, I'm comfortable talking to Johnny. It's fine. You know, if worst case scenario, I just let him talk the whole time and I'll just be quiet. Like he'll figure it out for me.
Yeah.
But, man, I even went to yoga. I went to the gym. I did everything. But like, the mindset I had was just like, totally agitated, whatever. I like almost got in an accident on the way home from yoga, just all these random things. It's just funny when you have a bad outlook and you're just like negative, whatever, that vibe. And then the universe just fucking throws you everything bad just to hammer. Like when I'm doing tree work and I'm pruning and I'm starting to get pissed off because I didn't eat or something, and I'm in the front yard and I start getting grumpy, then my earphones won't start working. They start glitching and it won't work. And then it's like something else won't happen, like a strap won't come apart. And I start tripping on all the branches and I start getting whipped in the face by the branches. Like,
oh, that's the
it just
best.
snowballs. And I'm like, what the is
right
going
on the tip of the nose or the lip? Those two, like there's a rage that you feel. But you got to figure
it only
out
happens if I'm already pissed though.
Yes. Well, of course, but I don't know. I've had a lot of those days, especially in business, and you just got to have like reset buttons on call.
Yeah.
So like back in the day on the old Nintendos when nothing worked, what'd you do?
Yeah. Oh, you got to
turn that shit off, pull it out, take it out,
blow on
give
it,
the blow, put it back in,
and like
2 or 3 resets, press the button, and then it worked every time. Exactly.
Yeah.
So like this morning, I actually had something similar. I was on the phone with like the locators because of like a whole bunch of stumps that got to come out. And there was a power line and a gas line and a grumpy this and a blah, blah, blah. And then I'm back and forth to my secretary, like, hey, you missed this, blah, da, 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 da. it was just, and then there was a train on the way to work and whatever, you know what I mean? And then, you know, Cedar was crying and I was just like, well, hold on a second. So I called my foreman and it was Corey. He picked up right away. I'm like, hey man, it's been a morning. And he was like, me too. He's like, you know, he's like complaining about one of the other guys taking too long to back up a truck, blah, 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 and getting stuck at the same train on the other side of town. So I was like, hey, I'm at because there's a coffee trailer that we'll occasionally stop at, what is good. And I was like, can I get you something? He was like, actually, yeah, I'll take a breakfast sandwich or whatever. So I grabbed one and cruised out, got the crew kind of situated and sorted out, made contact with the homeowner, gave a breakfast sandwich and like a coffee and a cheers and made a joke. And before you know it, the day was totally headed in the right track. So like, you got to find those reset buttons. And, you know, I was just, let's see here, 3 days ago, I was doing something similar, for an article that the ISA is going to actually release here right away. And we were talking a little bit about like patterns. So like you'll notice patterns in your day, like especially when you do this job long enough, like some days everything just flows, man. It's like the brush almost just drags itself. Yeah. And then on other days, it just feels like you're swimming upstream, you know, every step of the way. So you just got to find like a silver lining. You got to find something that's going to like change the trajectory of that day. And sometimes it's as simple as, come on, everybody, we're going for a coffee. Come on, everybody, we're going to listen to a song, like whatever. And I will say from personal experience to your like little headphone quip, having in-helmet communication has like changed my life, and it's probably changed the life of my crew, whether they realize it or not, because the way that we carry ourselves is I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get too woo-woo, but like, there's something to be said about like a transfer of energy or something. And what I find,
the woo woo podcast, bro. People don't even know it yet, but I'm going to.
What I do find though is if there's somebody on the job site that seems to be having a good day as a leader, you can steer the conversation in such a way that it seems like you can really pick them up. And if you put a little bit more effort in and you just give them a hand when you can see they can use it, before you know it, it takes a couple hours and bam, you've got them right back. So again, it's just people, the industry is just people. That's being a good
leader. I've been listening to some stuff on some books about being a leader and stuff like that too. And it's like, it's the opposite of being that dictator and telling people what to do, getting stressed. It's like, no, you got to get people to think for themselves. You got to inspire them. You got to make them think that they have some choice and some decision as to what's going on, and just maybe guide them, but like, ask them gently to do things as opposed to telling them what to do. Like, there's just so many things, and you have that mindset. It sounds like, did you work on that kind of stuff? Like to be a good leader, or do you think it came sort of naturally from your previous experience, just slowly kind of built up?
No.
I mean, I'm assuming you're a good leader, but it sounds.
Well, I'd like to think that I'm an effective leader, and I also think that it's very important to understand when that's your role and when it's not. And that was something that was hard for me to learn, for sure. The nature of my childhood is I was very much just left to raise myself, and I did. And when you do that, you inevitably end up being the leader because you're your own. And then any situation that you get dumped into or find yourself in, you end up, kind of taking charge. And I'll say, I started my company at 19 years old, and I learned a lot in the first few years about being an effective and an ineffective leader. Having control over your emotions, having a sense of the big picture, being able to admit humility, be able to jump on your sword. Like when you screw up, you got to admit it, you got to make it public. And in terms of working on it, I mean, when it comes to communicating and teaching, Arbor Canada's Train the Trainer program had a massive effect on me. Also, damn near losing my life in sports accidents has a way of kind of humbling one. But then also there are some excellent leadership books out there that force you to check yourself. And, if there's three
right now.
Yeah, there's three that kind of come to mind. One that's very like business focused is going to be the E-Myth Revisited, which is one that like everybody reads. It's a classic. The next one, fewer people have heard about. It's called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And that's Marshall Goldsmith. And he does a really good job of sort of outlining how certain personality types have relatively predictable patterns. You're good at one thing. 3 years down the road in your business at a certain scale, it ends up being a fallback. And then the one that was probably the most profound in terms of the way that I operate now would be Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, because I think it's really easy for like really ambitious kind of forward thinker type folks to set everything up and then expect it to all go to plan. And then when it doesn't, it's really easy to identify where the shortcomings came from. And it's a lot harder to really realize where they truly came from. And one thing that I just kind of harp on is like every problem is a leadership problem. So if you do find reoccurring issues happening on a crew or within a culture, well, who's the one in charge? And if that's you, then you need to turn around, or you got to look in the mirror and realize that you might be allowing something to happen. So you might not be directly causing it, right? But you're allowing it, and therefore it's your responsibility. You need to own that, and then you need to, take steps to change that. So, I just really try my best to lead by example, and I'm not on my crew every day, right? I'm not. I have to sell work. I got to run this business, and I'm obviously training to teach and train and do whatever it is that I'm doing. But when I do get an opportunity to be on site with the guys, I want to work just as hard as they are. I grab a rake, I run ropes, I drive trucks. I go at the end of the day and I dump the truck while they go home early. Like little things like that
taking care of,
speak volumes. And then the other thing is, if I expect accountability, I remain accountable, right? So if the plan is we're meeting at the yard at 8 a.m. and we need to be rolling by 8:10 because we got a drive ahead of us, I'm there at 7:55 and the trucks are warm and stuff is loaded. But then conversely, if we find ourselves on a job site, and I'm up in the tree and I'm asking for something that just isn't realistic, I need this rig line reset faster, or hey guys, like we can really be, maybe we could be getting this raking done. Instead of pointing out shortcomings, I try to find something that I can do to illustrate what I want to see. So if it's, maybe if it's a little bit of forward thinking, I'll just get on the comms and say, hey guys, on your next trip, would you mind just tying on this other thing? Because I'm going to need it in 5 minutes. And instead of you making another trip, maybe just send it up now. I don't mind carrying it for another 5 minutes. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So then just set that example. And then before you know it, they go to the trailer, they grab that thing that they're going to tie on, and on their way, they grab a piece of brush and they drag it to the chipper, they grab a rake or whatever. So I really think that leading by example is going to be the most powerful way to do it. And that means owning it, owning everything, own the mistakes. If the guys do good, they did good. If there was a mistake made, that's on you. You should have thought about it. So it's harsh, but it does work, and it's really all we can do as leaders, own it. Yeah,
for sure. And that could be a good podcast for another day, talking about leadership and things like that. There's a lot, I think, to it. Mm-hmm. Getting in that good headspace and not being stressed out as a leader and portraying that shit energy on everyone else that, that just ruins the crew. And if you're good, everything's chill and you're good, happy, inspired, and, you got a clear, direct vision with them. Good communication is huge, of course, too.
Well, and why'd you get into this job? You got into it because it was fun.
Yeah, and you want to have fun with your crew. Like, why hire guys you don't want to work with too?
Have fun. Yeah, exactly. Like come on. Like,
dudes
what's the
that
whole
are
point?
sick and build a good bond with them and want to hang out with these guys
and invest in them. Exactly. And that's the thing, mentor and invest in them. Like, I know like near and dear secrets and things of everybody on my crew that have been shared with me in trust and stuff because I care. And I don't know, man, we're not just people that work together, right? Yeah. Like my life
it's a lot of
is
time
in
together.
Their hands all the time. Yeah. All the time. And their finances, right? And their ability to provide for their family and make their mortgage payments and send their kids to college, those are in my hands. So like there should be reciprocation there. And I take that very seriously, very seriously.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, business owners or whatever, are worried about hiring guys that are just going to get trained up and leave and start their own business. And I'm just like, why make that such a stressful thing? Like, why not have the mindset of like, you're going to hire this guy, this young guy, you're going to inspire him, you're going to teach him, you're going to show him the ropes, you're going to bring him up, talk to him about business, maybe build him up, and then he can leave and start something successful, and you can collaborate and work with him and like feel good about it. Like inevitably, yeah, no one's going to sit there and work for you and be a groundsman forever. Like, why not try and work and help these people? Like, and that's your job as a leader and a business owner as well. Like, why not share that knowledge?
It's your job as a business owner and a leader to provide the opportunities for people to grow. Nobody wants to stay in the same place forever. At least nobody that I'm interested in having on my team, right?
Yeah.
So if you're worried about somebody coming on, getting trained, and then leaving to start their own business, step in their shoes, right? Why did I leave Davey to start my own business? Well, number one, there is a very obvious ceiling at which I was never going to make enough money to do the things in life that I wanted to do. That's not Davey Tree's fault. That's me. That's on me, because I had goals and I had I didn't have expensive taste, but you know what I mean? Like what I wanted to do didn't fit that program. But that doesn't mean that I never ever stopped delivering value. Like I worked my ass off until my very last day at that company. And I'm still in touch with who I worked for at Davey. They now own a private company and stuff. And we're on good terms because like I really worked my butt off for them. But like if you're not providing an environment that your people can grow into and grow within, then of course they're going to want to make moves. But like at Saha, like I tell the guys, like there is no ceiling to your income as long as we can find ways that you can do what you need to do to make that money. Like I've told my main foreman lots of times, like for you to make more money than me, like in fact, some months it already happens because I'm on salary and those guys aren't, but like there is no ceiling. If you want to make 200 grand a year, provide the company with 200 grand per year worth of value and we will make it happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In terms of training, like if they express an interest in something that maybe isn't directly related to their current role, I will never say no. Let's make that happen. And like, I'll probably join you. You know what I mean? Like if you want to learn something,
changing their mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that I do like within the company is like I'm trying to build something, and this isn't infinitely scalable, by the way. Like I will never own an Asplund or a Wright or any of these giant tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars revenue companies. I'm not really interested in that model. I want to build something that facilitates an excellent life for my team and I, right? And the people that are on that team, obviously. So the concept there is you build a vehicle that everybody can like have a really good time on. And that's why we're really careful about who we bring on board. And that's why we invest so heavily in our people. But I don't want you to want to leave. Like it's up to me to create a space and a business and a team and a career that you can't wait to come to tomorrow and the next day and so on and so forth for 20 years,
and they can
30
share,
years.
They can grow and share their opinions, and they can feel like they're valued.
100%.
And that what they do matters. And and of course they can control their own destiny within it. And then, if it does shoot off, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, like if you got to move, you got to move, right? Like if you end up having to move across the country, like, just do a good job until your last day. And then if our paths ever cross again, I'd probably love to have you back because I'm not going to move to, whatever, Quebec or something like that. But if you're sticking around, like if you're in the area, it should be because you want to be there. And I know what it's like to work a job that I don't love. In fact, I know what it's like to work a job that I hate. It's part of the reason how I ended up in Victoria and working for Davey Tree at the time. And I would never wish that upon anybody. Like that concept that was it Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson? Can't remember exactly, but many men live lives of quiet desperation or something like that. I cannot be the cause of that in this world. I want to be a cause of like inspiration and excitement, not I have to come here to make my living. Ugh, that's antithetical to my existence.
Yeah,
Thoreau.
That's brutal.
Thoreau. Most men live lives of quiet desperation.
Nice. Oh, what do we?
Cheers to you, sir.
What do we got? Go. I was just going to ask you. Actually, I was like, we need to segue into. I didn't even see you drinking your beer.
Yeah, I crushed this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it? Show us. Give us a little rundown.
This was the Java the Hutt. I mean, you're the beer tester. You've taught me. It was really well. I mean, I know it quite well. Yeah, it was really good. It was okay. It was a nice sipper,
Yeah.
Just a little bit here and there. I liked the taste. I like the texture. This one's a little harder hitting.
Yeah.
So when we wrap up here, I'll probably end up having the missus come and pick me up. But
Okay, that's an IPA. That's an IPA from Fernie, India Pale Ale.
Simcoe Aquanaut and Idaho 7.
Oh, dude, I love Simcoe. Simcoe is piney and resinous. It's
kind of
closer to our tree hearth.
Plus, cool thing about Fernie is if you ride mountain bikes, if you do go out to Fernie, they have a Triple Crown. So there's 3 trails that if you pedal up, ride down, ride to the next one, pedal up and down, ride to the next one, up and down, and then ride to the brewery. Yeah. And take selfies at the top of each trail, they'll give you a free beer. So it's pretty cool because you can burn like 4,000 calories over the course of 5.5 hours and get a free beer.
Totally.
Awesome. Actually, it's more like 8 hours.
And if you drink like 5 beers or 7 beers, it's like $1 off every beer you've had. You could just go to town.
Value add, sir. Mad props to
Fernie.
I like their beer.
I got an IPA too. This was my favorite brewery of the year last year. Okay, or maybe the year before, within the whatever. 88. Have you heard of 88 Brewing?
Yep. I've had it. I know we can.
Love 88. They're so good. Oh, this is a collaboration with Neighborhood Brewing. If you're wondering, my current favorite brewery is Born Brewing. Used to be called Born Colorado.
B-O-R-N-E. Yep.
It's B-O-R-N actually. I think. I have to double check. But I'm pretty sure it's just B-O-R-N. Born. But man, every beer they make, fantastico.
Okay.
This one's called A Beautiful Day, West Coast IPA with hop terpenes, which I thought was interesting. There's all these new things going on with hops. They're trying to extract different kind of characters and flavors.
Terpenes. Well, there's a Born Brewing in Calgary.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, I thought you said Colorado, bro.
Oh, it used to be called Born Colorado, which of course screwed everyone up because why would you have a brewery called Born Colorado all of a sudden in Calgary? So they dropped the Colorado. It's so good. Their beer is amazing.
Got it. Okay, and then there's Born B-O-U-R-N-E Brewing, which is what I was thinking of, but it doesn't matter.
Really?
Cool. Cheers to you, sir.
Yeah, cheers to you. ASMR.
To the Tree Blueprint. Is that what we're calling this thing? Arborist
Blueprint.
There it is. Yeah, we're good.
I guess we could be flexible on that. It is the first episode.
Fuck yeah.
I should probably go to the bathroom here real quick too.
Don't do it. No. Never break this.
Dude,
you got this.
I have to. Can you just like talk whatever you want to say? Just like say some shit while I go.
Half hour max. We'll wrap this up.
Okay.
Harden up.
I'll try.
Focus.
I do want to say that hop terpenes makes me think of cannabis, and cannabis is the closest relative to hops, or vice versa. They're very, very similar. Yeah. So if they're pulling terpenes out of hops, I wonder if there's some sort of correlation there with cannabis, and they're trying to isolate these new characters and nuances and whatever. But
terpenes are present in plants. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
Terpenes are like things on stuff.
Things and stuff. There you go.
I've been out of the master judging loop for a little while.
You're still pursuing like knowledge in that, right?
In beer judging?
In beer, like not only in beer judging, but beer brewing and stuff like that, right?
No, I'm not. And honestly, before the big boom was kind of like my glory days doing it. And then after the boom came, it kind of almost lost its luster a little bit. There's just so much beer because I had to like kind of seek it out and find it. And it was only like classic styles from around the world. So a lot of like import type brewing. But now that it's blown up, it's like a double-edged sword. Like I can only get beer generally that's locally, which is awesome because it's local and it's fresh and it's whatever. But it's definitely kind of dictated by the trends. So it's a lot of IPA, a lot of hazy IPA. I'm lacking a lot of styles that I want to try and drink again that are just out on the shelf because they're not as popular.
Oh, interesting.
I guess that was a problem from before too. But yeah, it's good. It's still really good. Lots of cool stuff coming out.
Well, the reason that I ask is like when you and I started hanging out outside of training and outside of work and stuff, it was interesting to find out of these things that you were into. If you're not really like into that, like I know that you're still like, what you like and that it's interesting to you, but outside of, the world of, Cochrane Tree Care and outside of Atmos, like what else are you doing? Like what's keeping you stoked and whatnot? Like obviously you got a wife and a daughter and stuff like that, but you got any hobbies right now?
Well, the beer thing, I'll touch on that first. Actually, it's kind of funny because like the pinnacle from back in the day's perspective was like, I want to go judge beer at the Canadian Brewing Awards. So all the best beer in Canada goes to Ontario, of course, where all the people are.
Okay.
And whatever, you judge like for like a whole week and a half of all these awesome beers, right? Commercial beers. We're not talking homebrew because I started out in homebrew, right? Anyways, this year I actually got offered like full flights, hotel, food, transportation, everything to go judge at the Canadian Brewing Awards.
No shit.
Yeah, it was on my bucket list, and I actually turned it down.
Why?
I know. I don't know.
Why?
I'm just fucking old now, man. I don't know. I just don't care as much anymore.
You got to check that box, bro. But
I know
I
will. It'll come in the future, but I kind of had this gut feeling, to get woo-woo again. I'm like, I don't know if I should. Like, honestly, judging beer is awesome, but taking sips of beer and like thinking hard on like good descriptors for the beer, for good feedback all day long for multiple days is like gut rot and mental health nightmare. Okay. At least for me.
I never thought about it. Yeah.
Oh man. After a couple of days, I'm like bad mood. Like I've really cut back my beer drinking, like since I used to drink a lot more, as you know, like I had stints of like not drinking beer at all anymore, but now I found some pretty good balance now. So
that's good.
I thought some of these podcasts is kind of fun. We'll just have a couple of beers, whatever. Not a big deal. I'm more into.
Well, it's fun to have one with you, man,
days,
because we obviously don't get an opportunity to do it as much as we used to, because you're out there being Mr. Entrepreneur and starting worldwide nonprofit well, no, sorry, it's not a nonprofit. Starting worldwide organizations. I'm over here just doing the tree service thing, but the time will come.
Yeah. So Atmos has been big, but outside of that.
But you're like passionate about it. Like every time that you and I talk, like you're excited about Atmos. More and more companies are signing up for it. You've got a vision. You're talking about it. You're talking about going to different conferences and stuff to spread the word. So I'm sure that it's, passion is driving it. Yeah.
Oh man, 100%. So it's really interesting you brought that up because, with Atmos, we have about 30 companies now, I think, which is awesome. We just sort of launched in like November. Rad. So there's there's a lot of different people that sign up and most people sign up and they're like, I love this idea. Like this is so great. I'm so glad you're doing it. We want to be a part of it like right now. And it's like building an army because they want to like help and participate and like they'll even like find land, want to plant on their own land or help, in a ways. Cause I'm one guy, right? So right now it's like me and people that are part of it kind of like voluntarily wanting to build this because they believe in the movement, and I believe it as well. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, if you run the numbers, that many companies at the amount of removals on average that companies like mine are doing, like there's going to be a lot of trees going in the ground. Like, because you're saying, when is it? April is the first time that you're going to collect on the fees that have been charged. Yeah, we're going to do quarterly. Customers for replanting. So you're going to do quarterly reporting, right?
Yeah, so I should back up just in case somebody doesn't know about Atmos Tree, but I founded Atmos Tree as a regenerative, meaning we do more than just sustainable. So regenerative alliance by creating this 2-to-1 tree cycle program. So any kind of arborist can join, and then when they remove a tree, we will replant 2 trees for their removal.
Right.
And then I found this checked off a lot of solutions for people. Is like most arborists can't replant trees, or they can, but maybe just larger caliber,
not at that
or they
scale.
don't do it consistently at 2-to-1.
Yeah.
It's a
there's
bylaws
thing
out there
too,
that
which
exist.
can be really hard. Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
There's all sorts of issues that come up, and it's not as feasible. You don't make as much money. People make bread and butter money off of doing removals most of the time. So I'm like, why don't I just take over planting trees for people and then give them this affiliation they can join. Like we literally are printing decals and building up the branding, like give everybody a branding toolkit, and they can join and affiliate and then advertise to their customers that they're part of the Atmos Alliance. And then they just charge a recycling fee on their quotes and invoices, like $25 in Canada. Right. And then that'll pay for 2 trees to go in the ground, like all the planning, the research, all this stuff I'm realizing is actually quite a lot. It's not just like throwing 2 trees in the ground. It's it's a lot of work. I'm going like hard every day. Like my brain's almost exploding trying to build this up for everyone. But
it's been amazing. People are going to ask, like, where are these trees going to be planted? Like, not all in one place, right? We're not just talking trees are going to get thrown into the ground in Brazil or in, Madagascar or wherever. Like, they're going in where they're needed, right? They're going in where trees should be going.
Yeah, for sure. So because I have this permaculture kind of background and mindset, which kind of works with natural systems and using like the yields that you have and a lot of biodiversity type thing, I want to plant trees in a priority of locations and plantations that are going to have more than just like one benefit. So I don't want to plant a monoculture of trees, say in a wood lot that's been cut down for something else. Like we're not going to do any reforestation type stuff, right? But I mean,
because they're going to do that anyway because they have to.
For one, they have to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I don't even think, even if we wanted to, I don't think we're allowed to even do that.
Well,
but no, we're going to plant in.
They should be paying for that, but yeah, go on.
It's going to be like afforestation or agroforestry, like trying to change the culture of how we plant trees again, so we get more benefits. So some places, like say overseas, people can plant trees that are going to be harvestable to have fruit or food or whatever it's going to be, so they can go to market and help bring them out of poverty. Trees grow bigger and faster overseas, so they're going to capture more carbon, right? I don't really go down the political roads as far as the climate change and things because I just don't want to get into these debates. I think everyone agrees.
I would highly expect not to.
Yeah.
And I would highly advise not to.
But I mean, regardless of your opinion, I've heard both sides of the story. Everyone still agrees that trees are amazing. Trees do so many great things. And we are losing trees. I mean, I'm focusing on the arborist industry because I know we're losing trees because we cut the trees down and they're not getting replaced. So that's why I focus on arboriculture.
Definitely not at the same rate that they're coming down for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we probably have a smaller impact on tree removal compared to forestry and creating new land for agriculture, all of that kind of stuff. But it's still significant, and it's something that I can do. At least I can start with arboriculture before expanding, because of course my brain goes to like all these grandiose ideas of how we're just going to blow this thing up. But for now, we're focusing simply arborists, planting 2 to 1. And then getting back to your original question there about where we're going to plant, we're going to do a lot of local planting though as well, because there is a lot of ask and draw from arborists and alliance members to plant in their areas. They find it maybe a little bit easier to sell to their customers, just to say that they're going to be planting in those areas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. People could like go and see where trees were planted with the money that they paid. Yeah.
And it's not going to be like the exact same thing everywhere. It's going to be fluid. But because there are a few members, for example, in Lethbridge, including yourself, there's a consolidation there. There's a consolidation in Winnipeg, and there's a consolidation in like Ontario near Toronto area, of course. Generally areas where I go and I end up meeting people, at least for now, because we're so new, just since November here, right, going public. And by public, I mean like advertising to other companies, not like IPO, like a huge company or anything.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah,
but we want to find something to kind of diversify, right? So I want to be able to do a little bit, maybe with larger caliber trees, with like the relief program, say out in Toronto area, where like they're literally planting in people's backyards, but then also plant overseas where trees can be less expensive to offset the cost of the bigger trees that are going to be going in, say in Toronto area. And I'm not working with them yet. I'm not saying that's a thing right now.
But that's kind of the dream. Yep.
Yeah, things like that. And then there's also stuff in the works with the Agroforestry Woodlot Extension Society of Alberta. So I'm going to work with them because I'm not a forester. I'm not in civiculture, that kind of thing. I don't have a lot of the programming access to large amounts of seedlings here right away, which I also realize is a problem. You can't just take money and be like, oh, okay, now it's time to buy 2,000 seedlings. It's like, okay, you can't just do that. No. So like these organizations that we're going to partner with too are they're already pre-ordering seedlings for like 2025. Cool. They already have existing plantations where we can start planting things in the spring and fall is generally where we're going to plant them. And they have multiple locations all over Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, I think. But they're open to helping you start your own. So we have a guy in Clearwater, BC, starting out his new company, Danny Bagard, I think is his last name, DB Tree. Okay. Anyways, he has access to 80 acres of land up there, and it's going to be on like a permaculture farm, like a regenerative thing where they're going to integrate livestock and all the kinds of biodiversity, and they want to plant trees. And I'm like, dude, Atmos Tree would love to plant the trees there. So we're going to fund the tree planting, but work with Oz because they can probably access some other funding to help with, mulching or irrigation, some different things.
Yeah.
Where we can all benefit and all work together. And then I can go up there and help plant and bring some people too. And then if they're in the areas near them, we can invite Alliance members out to come and plant. And if they want, like just come out and, take some photos, plant some trees, be part of the Alliance, because people feel like they want to be a part of it, part of the story. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be working on that. And we're taking ideas like from people that are in the Alliance. There's so much right now. I'm just trudging through it.
It's actually really cool.
Great.
I'm
so
interested to see how many different ways that this could go. I mean, the first one that comes to my mind is, there's always these like community garden associations, right? And they're always looking for either volunteers or looking for people to kind of pitch in where they can. And there might be an opportunity there.
It sort of glitched out in my earphone there, what you said about something about some organization.
So like community garden organizations. So we have several here in Lethbridge where there's just a community garden and the whole community just helps it out. Someone will come and plant some seeds and till some soil and da-da-da-da-da. But man, maybe there could be some apple trees going in the ground or some, pear trees or some cherry trees that could be harvested and then potentially actually like put some food on some plates. It's a really cool concept that you got going on there. I'm stoked to be a part of it. I signed up before I even knew what it was because I love you so much, but it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see how many other people are like really jumping on board. I think it's really going to empower you to do something good. And I think too, what is neat is you're putting the ball in a lot of people's court to do something positive. So, when we're removing trees and people are paying that little bit of extra money, knowing that like trees are going to go into the ground, they are now part of the solution. So many people we cut trees down for because it's the reality of our job. They're like, man, I really hate to see this thing go. And, my yard has changed and there's a garage here and there's underground utilities over there. And like, we could put in a bush, but like there just isn't room here. It's like, well, hey, there's going to be 2 real trees going in somewhere because of this, and it's up to you. And the other thing to consider is for a lot of these people, if your municipality doesn't have a replanting program or legislation that makes that kind of thing happen, that tree's down forever, right? Yeah. But for $25 to put 2 trees in the ground, that's crazy because I can't buy a tree from the nursery for less than $150. Right? Yeah. Like a real tree and like a caliper tree is like $300. So, you're going to be able to be really effective and you plant the seeds now and these are giant trees later. It's kind of cool. Yeah,
for sure. Of course, most of them are going to be seedlings and things because we can reduce cost and hopefully build up some of these forests. So like some of the techniques we want to do is I want to make like consolidated forest areas. So instead of being like a municipality where they plant the monoculture of single trees, like laying in the middle of a field with nothing around it, which is ridiculous in my opinion, these are going to be planted together in a diverse way. And of course, it's not just trees, like it's Atmos Tree. We talk about trees all the time, but there is going to be like shrubs and different native species planted with it because you need that underground connection with the mycorrhizal fungi and all that kind of stuff, as you know, to make it self-sustaining. So one day, like 20 years down the road, it's hands off with these forests now that we've created, and they're self-seeding and they're propagating themselves just like grass does through rhizomes, and then we don't have to worry about it, right? So
exactly,
that's what we want to get started, and it should be good. And then you mentioned earlier too, I should also say it's not a nonprofit; it's a for-profit business,
right?
But
yes,
it's a for-profit business that's meant to do good. Like I've always wanted to like philanthropize in some way and give back. So I already have tons of ideas, and we're already sponsoring 2 things right now, albeit all of the money for Atmos Tree is coming from my Cochrane Tree Care bank account. So I know it's going to work out though, right? Like, man, I've burnt the ships. We're on shore. We're going to war. Like
you're going. Yeah. It's time to call
it's happening. It's only money. Like, I don't give a shit. Whatever. I'll figure it out. Yep. Like, honestly, it's at the end of the day, money doesn't make you happy, although it provides good opportunity and freedom. But
so what are you sponsoring?
But the idea is that we want to give back the proceeds back into the industry specifically. So like with Arboriculture Canada, the training school that we both teach at, they're removing trees too. And I was in class and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we're just going to cut down like 6 trees here just to like make some bolts to practice cutting. Like, what
Yeah.
Like, are these getting replaced or anything? Like, we're arborists. Like, are we part of the green industry? Like, shouldn't somebody say something? I don't know. At least this was my perspective coming into it, right? You know, not having been in it for before. So I chatted them up, and Dwayne and Nancy, they were totally on board. So we're sponsoring them with like the 2-to-1 tree cycle theme. So whenever they remove a tree, instructors are keeping track on the safety forums there. And then we're going to get the tally, and then we're going to use the proceeds to plant 2-to-1 for Arboriculture Canada. And then same with...
Oh, go on. Yeah. Keep going.
Oh, I was going to say with Jeff Inman's podcast, I reached out to a few different podcast places too, and then he does like a tree climbers podcast. And I wanted to kind of get the word out for Atmos, because I need to obviously tell arborists that this exists if they want to join.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, why not do that, which ultimately resulted in me creating my own podcast, because I was like, I could just sponsor my own. But anyways, he's
a proper professional, man. He's dedicated to doing things the right way. I've seen him teach. I've seen him present. He's legit. So that's a wicked place to start. And you're only going to blow it up even more. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, he loves the idea, so it's great. He's just doing a little blurb on his podcast, and for each podcast he does, we're going to plant 2 trees each time as well. So, and that's only going to expand as things get bigger, more sponsorships. Yep. I would even love to have plantations out there in local areas, say near Lethbridge, where you can go, you could help volunteer, I can come down, but you can work with a local charity that you like down there. We could have people come out from that local charity. They can come help plant. And then we can make a large donation to their charity for their volunteer time to come plant trees and give back to your own community. I think that's a super
cool idea. I've done some stuff with like the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. And like, man, what a cool opportunity. Like, take kids out and put some trees in the ground. Like, rad, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I do that with my kids too. And I've taken like my neighbor's kids from around the street and been like, hey, we're going to go plant a tree, and they'll, you know, we all jump in the van or whatever, and we all get our hands dirty. And it's like a really good experience for kids to be having. I think it's an awesome thing. I've got pictures hanging up all over my house of like my kids and I just planting trees, some of which are in my yard, and that's going to be really rewarding for you. So when the time comes, you make sure that, you let me know.
100%.
And, to the point about the training thing, just really quick, when I started teaching for Nats, I became friends with Axel Avila, who is a tremendous arborist, extremely skilled. He's also a big wall climber, like just one of these total savant type guys. And I remember him, he actually was the first person that kind of woke me up to that concept. Like, we do these technical tree felling courses, these hazard danger tree felling courses, these chainsaw safety and cutting technique courses, production tree removal and rigging. And one of the prerequisites for every one of those course hosts is trees to cut down. So we find ourselves at these old overgrown tree farms or these acreages or these other places, and we're just cutting trees down to make bolts, like you said, and we're just leaving stumps. And, a lot of the times when we leave, there's like this pile of brush now that sure is going to be habitat for like a rabbit or a bird of prey or whatever. But also it's like, man, I don't feel really great about cutting down that perfectly healthy poplar just to teach people how to cut notches. It's important that people learn how to do things safely, and we need trees to do that. Don't get me wrong. I get it. Like, full support, but to know that there's going to be an offset and there's going to be trees going in the ground, it's just going to make that whole process, that there's going to be way less guilt associated with that, knowing that we're doing something positive.
It sucks when you cut it down, you like look at it and people are like, oh, look at all the rings, and you're like, oh yeah, it's 25 years old. It's like that sucker sat there for 25 years slowly growing, just braving the elements. And and we just cut it down in 2 seconds just for fun, for training, and I'm like, oh god. But I want
it's never a good feeling.
Those plantings, like say if we had one, for example, down in your area, I'd want you to be able to come to and then like take credit for it. Like, I want to promote other arborists and their businesses. So it's like you can almost like feel like, and we give you the like as if you're taking the lead, and you can invite people around from your community and like say, here's what you're doing, and tell your clients that's what's going on as far as being part of Atmos Tree. And it's not my thing. It's like me empowering the arborists that join to connect with their community to plant all of these trees, and to like take credit from their clients that they're working with their clients to ultimately fund and plant these trees. I'm just the guy behind the scenes doing the logistics and making it happen on that end, but letting these guys go to work and do their thing, remove trees, make money, so they can afford to live with their families and have a good life. But, you know, trees
And
are
then
going
win,
back
win,
in.
win, win, win.
Win,
Yeah,
win, win, win,
good
win,
for you.
everybody. I got to go pee. Hold on.
All right, fine. So I'm just going to hang out here and take care of the microphone. I learned from Kurt that if you lower your voice, then it sounds more official and it gives you more of a radio presence. So we could do something like this where welcome one and all to the Arborist Blueprint Podcast. I'm not your host, Johnny Corthius here, filling in for Kurt, who has the bladder of a hummingbird. But nonetheless, he is a good dude once you get to know him. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him over the years, and he's gold star. We love that guy. On another note, he's really good at drinking beer. He taught me everything that I know about it, and I love him for that as well. I've also had him on a couple job sites taking pictures, and I probably wouldn't be sponsored by the companies that I am, or still sponsored by some of the companies that I am, if it wasn't for him. So thank you very much. I don't know about the pirate mustache. We'll get there.
You weren't saying the shit, were you, when I was gone?
No, nothing. I just let
Were you talking shit when I was gone?
No.
What?
No. How was your pee?
Oh, it was long.
The bladder.
So,
the bladder.
how
of
much more beer you got left?
I got 2/3. I can crush it real quick. But what else do you want to talk about? Was there anything else on your list?
Well, I mean, we originally planned to talk a little bit about ISA. We touched on it a little bit, but you know, I don't know if we have to go deeper down that road, or like, do you want to? Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's coming from a place of curiosity, like I can, you know, speak to you about my experience with the ISA for sure. And I think that everybody in the industry would agree that, you know, somebody needs to fill those shoes, and it's good that the ISA is. And I think that some people have some issues with them, but also, you know, things are only going to get better if you get involved, and there's lots of ways that you can do that. So I'm not an ISA advocate, nor am I, you know, an ISA evangelist by any means. I am a professional member. I am a certified arborist, and I'm working towards my BCMA. In fact, I've registered to take the exam, and if I wasn't doing this right now, I'd be reading probably one of the Arborist BMP publications. But I'm just going to say, like, you know, people have their opinions and people have their strong feelings, maybe. At the end of the day, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and make the most of what is there. Because right now, it's, you know, that's what we got. And like the TCIA obviously plays a huge role in our industry, as do many of the large companies that are coming up, and the engaged individuals that sit on the board for, you know, like the ANSI standards and things like that. But I would say, you know, boots on the ground, the average arborist, the moves that are available to you would be, you know, get involved. And that's one of the easiest ways to do it. Sign up, become a member, attend events, do some volunteer, maybe check out a competition or two, and maybe one day get into a position where you can have a little bit more of an impact and be the change that you want to see as it is. But you're never going to hear me see anything, you know, overly negative about pretty much anything.
Yeah,
and
it's not. Things are in black and white.
I think it's important to just point out the strengths. Yeah, exactly. And nothing in life is, right? So
because people want to go like, either it's like no ISA, I don't like it, it's bad, or it's like it's good. But we're like, no, there's positives and negatives, and you float on that scale depending on who you are, how far you've been into your career, all these kinds of things, what you want to get out of it. Like for me, I am not ISA certified. Newsflash, if anybody's wondering, but I didn't find it anything I needed because I started my own business right away. I got my courses through Arboriculture Canada. I felt confident in what I was doing. I didn't feel like there was this market need for me to connect with the clients. Like people weren't asking if I was certified. Like, it wasn't like a thing, at least in our area, where I needed to be, you know, certified. Even though some other arborists would be like, I'm a certified arborist, whatever. It's like, well, good for you, man. I'm certified in these courses at Arboriculture Canada. Like, what does that even mean? So like, I didn't care. I also didn't have the 3 years of experience yet. So like, that's a bit of or 2 years, like you said, it's a bit of a hurdle before you could even start to get it. And even though I started my own business pretty early on. So there was a few things, which also led me to another idea I had just recently, was like, it would be kind of cool if the ISA had some sort of thing where you could kind of write like a little intro exam, like a pretty basic one, just to get you involved without having any hours, maybe. Like I know with beer judging, they do that where you can be like a recognized beer judge, whatever. You just go through, you don't have any judging experience points yet, but you can get into the organization by a short little exam that puts you at least on the path to get started. And it makes you like
Right.
at least a member with some sort of certification, some sort of basic knowledge. You had to read something and answer some questions. And then it sets you up for doing your certified exam within that, after 2 years. Whereas like right now it's like, oh, I'm interested. I want to get into arboriculture. Like, oh, I want to join the ISA or do some courses, but it's like, oh, I can't even get certified for 2 years. So they just kind of like drop it, and then 2 years go by, and then maybe they're losing members because of that.
Well, I can't really speak to that, but what I can speak to would be, different industries that do have something similar. So, if you wanted some kind of a recognition that pointed towards, for instance, you've started the journey to becoming whatever it is, that is sort of the beauty of the Red Seal Trade Recognition Program, and that as soon as you start, you're a first year welding apprentice. Right. And then you're a second year and so on and so forth. And it at least lets people know that you're on track. Now, there's, there are other certifications that the ISA offers. You can become a certified tree worker, or then you got Arborist, Municipal Specialist, you got your utility.
Okay, so
and BCMA.
I wanted to ask you about that.
But what I'm saying, just to wrap up that thought really quick, is like, I think that there is a place for the ISA, but I also think that our industry is due for maybe something else as well. And I don't know, there's a lot of pushback towards, an arborist or whatever it is that we end up calling it becoming a Red Seal trade. And I totally understand why. And also there's like a ton of difficulty with our industry on adhering to that. I mean, also, just think about what our job is. Like your job and my job and somebody else's, we're all arborists. We could have a completely different set of tasks. Whereas in general, a welder is either welding or supervising people welding at a welding shop, right? Like there's nuance, and there's so many facets to our industry that it would be really hard to just plug it into, another stream of career development. But we have to have something. And currently what we have is what we have. But there really, in my opinion, there really should be at least a little bit of a barrier to entry if you're going to own and operate the company. So you could be a, let's say, first year apprentice arborist. That's totally fine. But if you go down to the city, right, and you try to register a business license, or you go to the insurance company and you try to take out an insurance policy with no experience relevant to your industry, to your chosen industry, it's not even your industry yet, by the way, I do believe that there should be a barrier to entry. And that isn't to reduce competition. It's to keep more people alive. And it's to keep more trees standing. And it's to keep less homeowners from getting ripped off from somebody that's knocking on a door and scaring them out of having their trees. We have no barrier to entry. In my opinion, that's not the ISA's job. Period. So I think we really need to be careful in that we're not trying to, assign an infinite level of authority to any one single organization if it doesn't even fit their MO, right? So if you want to get recognized, like anybody that works for my company that is not a certified arborist is an apprentice arborist underneath myself or any of our other certified guys. That doesn't mean that you're not an arborist. You're just not a certified arborist yet, right? But also, if you haven't taken any steps, if you have less than a year of experience, should you really be going and starting up a company and calling yourself an expert? Personally, I would say no. If that makes sense.
Some special people to do that.
We all have to start somewhere, right? Don't get me wrong.
Did you bring me a PB parfait? Sorry.
What?
Thank you.
What'd you get?
Parfait delivery.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of
calories.
dairy.
That's a lot of dairy. That's diarrhea later. Dude, I haven't had one of these forever.
Anyway, I would just be careful about avoiding that whole daddy complex, and that you're always looking for somebody to have the answers. And in fact, it might be a little bit harder in the near term, but maybe come up with your own answers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And again, it's like a mindset type thing, I think, too. I don't know, it's a hard thing to teach people to do that. I think it's so easy for us or people to say that have already kind of gone through that road and that journey to think for themselves and realize it and then see it and look back in hindsight that, or other people don't.
Well, everybody wants to be at the goal tomorrow, and I understand that too. Like we were all 19-year-old dudes at one point, or super ambitious 19-year-old women, or whatever it is that you want to call yourself. Like I get it. There's a predictable personality type there, but like, I don't know, man. You don't really want to give a toddler the keys to the kingdom, and that kind of concept, scales all the way up to our federal government. Just kidding. Politics. Just kidding.
Okay, so you're going after your BCMA, and I noticed a bunch of people that joined Atmos Tree, and a lot of Alliance members actually are kind of like academic-y type members, which also inspired me to want to go out to the ISA conferences and like the TSCI, because I do know that like a lot of these topics that they're talking about in these conferences are around like tree health and different things, and like how the industry is changing and moving, and that all really attracts me now. Whereas like in the beginning, it didn't attract me. I was like, I got to figure out the basics. I got to know when I cut a tree down and when I prune it. So like now I'm like, damn, now I want to get my certification because these things are important to me. You've gone even further. You're almost at your BCMA, which is Board Certified Master Arborist. Is that correct?
Well, I still got to pass the test. Like all I've done is qualified to write the test. The like they have my money. They said I can write it, and I'm scheduling it. So what like, is? I am on the track as hundreds of people have gone down before. So I'm no higher qualified than any other ISA certified arborist out there, aside from any other like side qualifications I've got through the training companies and other experience. But yeah,
what does it mean,
BCMA, though? Through the ISA is essentially the highest credential that they offer, and it's a more comprehensive understanding not only of trees but also of the industry and the practices within it. So it's a much broader certification. You need to understand all of the domains and several more to a greater depth. And really what it is it's a big ass multiple choice exam that is worded really challengingly so that it's hard to write and hard to pass, but that is the nature of any major credential. And I know several BCMAs. In fact, several of them have been very generous with their time with any questions that I have for them. And to me, I never went to university or college, and this kind of represents at least a goalpost that I can put in the sand. And then once I do that, then maybe I could go, back to university, and maybe I could really, triple down on something and really focus on it. But to me, this is a really effective goalpost to put in the sand that is going to, in some ways force me to dive into a lot of materials that maybe I wouldn't otherwise bother with, like the amount of stuff that I've learned in the last year preparing for this exam about just like municipal practices or basic management practices or like the idiosyncrasies of root management in urban areas. It's actually just been really fun. And to our conversation earlier, because I have, a relatively decent amount of experience in the industry, I'm finding that a lot of this stuff, like I'm reading once and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's filling in these little gaps in my knowledge that I didn't even know were there. And now, because I'm able to go out and I do quotes and assessments and consultations, and I, do some consulting for my the city that I live in, I take care of several other municipalities. I'm actually now able to answer more questions, like right there, right on the fly, and I can provide even better guidance. So just the act of studying for my BCMA has like leveled up my career. And I don't know, man, would I have really dove deeper into the science of soil had I not been preparing for this exam? The answer is probably no, because I've got a lot of other stuff going on. I could be, in Europe working with Edelrid, or I could be in wherever working with Husqvarna or something like that. So I don't know. I like the idea of having a lofty challenge ahead of me, especially one that is going to force learning and development, and it's just going to level me up. It's going to level my guys up, my business up. And then in the end, something that I've stated as a goal of mine all the time is to just elevate the industry as a whole. And, I can't do that globally by any means, but I can definitely do it in my area, right? Like I train some of the companies that are bidding on the same, the people at the companies that are bidding on the same work that I am. That's a pretty cool opportunity. Totally. So like I actually have an opportunity to have an impact beyond just my practice and my employees / family and friends, right? So that's pretty cool. And on the training end of things, I get to, impact up and coming arborists or people that are searching out more knowledge. And then at the trade shows that you referenced, be it ISA or TCI or Vertical Expo or whatever, I get to be in front of even more people. So if I can be useful, I should be useful. And, going for a BCMA is just going to make me more useful. So that's kind of how I approach it.
I've thought about that a lot, actually, over the last year or two. Was like, have you heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Probably have, hey? It's just like people that are just trying to survive every day, or like they're so overwhelmed and stressed with just survivability that they don't have time to think beyond that, basically. Exactly, and I feel like people that have the opportunity or privilege, whatever you want to call it, where you're set up, you've built upon these things, you have the mindset, and it's been successful, where we've built upon this, and it's maybe come easier to us than, say, others, whether it has or it hasn't. I mean, not that it's taken hard work, but
I know exactly.
At some point, I feel like we also have this desire, this pull to kind of do more and to expand. Like we're not satisfied just sitting with a basic tree company and just doing the same thing day after day, the monotony. Like there's a reason why I think we're feeling pulled to do more and not to ignore that. I think it's almost like a little bit of a duty or responsibility, because if you think about the whole world of people out there, there is a very, very small percentage of people that are put into those places that have the opportunity to make these differences and come up with these new ideas. They have the ability to create new ideas and push an industry or push how things are going to change. And whatever it might be, whether it's in your small industry or it's a global thing, whatever. Like for me, it's Atmos Tree. I'm like, I don't want to be restricted by Cochrane Tree Care. I love the community. I love connecting with them, but I'm like, I can do more. I know I can do more. And I want to give back. I want to give back to this industry for arborists themselves, but I also want to impact the world somehow. And I don't even know where Atmos Tree ends. Like it's a blur for me right now, but I know Atmos Tree itself is just a step to something else. It's like 1 or 2 steps away from something even greater. But I feel like
man, you're trending in the right direction.
And when it gets hard, I'm like, no, it's, you know what? It's a bit of my duty. It's my responsibility. I got to do this. I got to hammer through this. I got to take these hard days, because I am one of the few lucky enough out there to make a difference and to do something bigger and greater than what just exists as is right now. And I think we should take that and roll 100%. With it.
Yeah, that's John Locke, right? Like our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate, it's that we're powerful beyond all measure. Like the concept behind that is, it's one thing to just be useless, because then you can just hang out, be useless. You can be inadequate. But when you do realize that, right? But when you do realize that you have an opportunity or otherwise, actually you have a position to make a positive impact, some would say that you have a responsibility to do so, right? And then that can be really intimidating. And yeah, I do think that it's one of those things that you're going to do until the day that you die. I don't think you're ever really going to finish that type of a project. Those are my favorite type. Those infinite goals, those are the best ones. And in some ways, intimidating for sure. Like we got our work cut out for us. But at the same time, what that really means is we just need to commit to doing the next right thing well, right? Because you can't get anywhere without taking steps, and every goal that you end up achieving, right? So just try to figure out what that next step is, and then make that as good or execute that step as well as you can, and that's going to lead you to that next step. But it takes time, man. Like it takes time to get into a position before you even realize, fucking what direction am I even trending in? But really, honestly, once you do get a feel for that, whether it's intimidating or not, whether it's going to, check the ego or not, maybe it's going to be uncomfortable for a little while, it is worth it in the end. I think that lofty goals are the ones worth having. And those infinite goals are the ones that are going to keep you engaged and excited for a lifetime, as opposed to just, maybe it's just a bigger paycheck or just a fancier car. Those things, they tend to come and go, but you can set your sights higher. And it seems like that's what you've done. And I would like to think that that's what I've done too.
Yeah. Maybe it's all just ADHD.
Maybe. Either way,
it's a superpower, bro. Right? It's a superpower.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love it. We should probably finish it up, because I got this frickin' ice cream and whatever. some wings.
Yeah,
looks
you're
like over there.
gonna go poop your pants. But I mean, anytime you want to talk about stuff, if it makes sense to talk to me about it, I'm keen.
100%.
People can find you at Atmos Tree.
People can find me. Oh man, yeah, at
or
Kurt
just
the Arborist
on Instagram. Check
Yeah,
out
on
my YouTube
Instagram.
channel.
I'm trying to diversify though. By the way, that's why this podcast, because I'm like, what if Instagram blows up, man? I'm all about diversity, so I'm like, I got to get out of the Instagram, hole just in case.
Got to get on that. You got to get on that Spotify action.
Got to get on everywhere. So especially if I want to make Atmos Tree big and attract more people. Not everyone wants to be on Instagram. So at Kurt the Arborist on Instagram. My company is Cochrane Tree Care at Cochrane Tree Care. Do I have another one? I think that's it.
Well, what about Atmos? Surely there's a website.
Oh yeah, at Atmos Tree. At Atmos Tree org.
Listen, I taught him tree stuff. I didn't teach him anything about marketing, so that ain't on me.
This is called the Arborist Blueprint Podcast, and it should be available on YouTube, Spotify, all that stuff.
What are you going to do? Are you going to do all the other ones like this? The Skechers and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. Surely YouTube will be where the video goes. Are you going to put the video on Spotify as well?
Yeah, if I can, see how much, if it costs any money or not.
It's good
at that. I'm one step at a time. Record, then edit, then figure out where to put it.
Well, you got this one in the bag. I don't know how long we've been going, but surely it's been too long. But yeah, any time that you think that I can be of use, just give me a shout. I'm happy to help.
100%. You got a ton of knowledge, and I have some knowledge from different perspectives. So I think we should combine, and maybe the next time we'll hone in on some different specific topics and try and help people out, give back, all that kind of stuff. Or just drink beer and whatever. Do we get Captain
Planet rings? Remember Captain Planet?
He's the man for you.
Yeah. I want one of those. Otherwise, I'm not in.
Captain Planet background. Psh, that's a sweet idea, actually.
But hey, you're gonna come to Arborfest Expo in North Carolina?
Maybe, probably.
Come on in.
I don't know, man. I got to go to this ISA thing in Ontario, so that's going to cost a bunch of money.
That February? That's this month, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to go by myself. Going to go by myself and hope for the best.
I'd be there if I could, but I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I got a grandma's funeral and I got rocks to climb and cliffs to jump off of.
The beer judging thing, I didn't feel it. I shut it down. And that's at the same time. And I feel like the universe was telling me,
there it is.
Don't go drink beer. Go do Atmos.
Get your ass to that conference.
Go out to the conference. Get in the ISA. Figure out what's going on. And just connect with people. That's what I'm focusing on, man. I just want to make these connections, be authentic. I'm not trying to push or sell anything because all this stuff will just come. People will come.
Okay. Well, if you can make it, Arborfest Expo is going to be dope. Be there. I got lots of points. Let's figure it out. We'll come up with a reason. I got lots of points. Are you on the points program yet? Yeah, you're on the points.
For Holiday Express?
What? No, just like points, like travel points and shit on your company cards and whatnot.
Oh yeah, we got companion.
It's like one of my dirty little like. It's like, oh okay. I have like a, what is it? Oh, it's like, what is it? A guilty pleasure? What's another word for one of those? No, not pet peeve. You know what I'm talking about though. Guilty pleasure. Yeah, I think it's that. I just like.
Is it the thing in the airports where you get to go to the fancy room?
Yeah. I'm about that.
Man, I want that. I want to have a free drink on the airport.
That's what I'm saying. So if we book the same flights to go to Arborfest Expo, you can be my guest at the airport lounge. It'll be awesome.
It's only $10 for a free drink. Like, it makes my whole day.
Well, it's not free if you pay for it, but
yeah, I know you have to pay hundreds of dollars to get it, but.
Yeah. Hanging out in airports, though, like with other arborists while traveling for trade shows is probably one of my favorite things to do. So actually I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen to this podcast, but if you do, and if you're an arborist or a skydiver or a base jumper, a mountain biker or a rock climber or a parkour person or any of those type of things, and we're going to be on the same flight, let's hang out at the airport. I love it. I love being in limbo. Okay. I love having a couple hours to myself.
Send me the information of what flights and all that crap, and then I'll figure it out.
Okay. Let's do it. And then I'm going to teach pruning and rescue there. And I'll also be bouncing back and forth.
Pruning.
There you go. See, there's the reason. Done. That was easy.
Rescue.
Business expense. You could be the casualty. I'll put a tourniquet on you.
Okay.
We'll do mouth to mouth. It'll be fun. You'll
I'll
love
be a
it.
casualty and I'll wear Atmos Tree. Then I can.
I'll have a Tic Tac on board. You'll love it. But yeah, that's gonna be cool.
Okay.
And then and then TCI. We should probably go to TCI.
Dude, TCI. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll either be there with Adelrid or Husqvarna. But if you're going to have your own booth, I'm there for Atmos Tree.
I'm going to get a corporate membership. They're going to give me a booth for free by the TCIA where you sign in like outside of the expo part because it's like full, but they're like, we want you. And then they want to figure out some sort of sponsorship for Atmos Tree for the big tree that they like cut down and do all the demos on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they're psyched. They think it's the best idea ever.
Bro.
So I'm going to TCI. Yeah, I'm going to TCI and we're going to do it.
Well, then we're hanging out at the airport. It'll be sweet. If we're flying out of Calgary. I don't know.
Are you going to do anything at TCI? Do you have to do you have responsibilities there?
Probably yes, but you know me. As soon as I'm done my responsibilities, I'm just going to be hanging out in cool places anyway. So I'll come and hang out at the Atmos Tree. Yeah, dude. I'll rep Atmos.
Okay.
No, I'm a professional at those shows.
I just want to be an authentic human.
I cross my T's. I dot my I's. But yeah, for real. Thanks for having me on this cool podcast startup thingamajig that you have going on.
If anyone actually, just came back from episode 100 to come back to listen to this one because they're like, man, I got to go back and start from the beginning. Welcome to you. I love you.
It's getting weird. But if you want to find me, no, just kidding. That was fun, dude.
Oh yeah,
probably sign
Johnny,
out though. And then I think you also. No, I don't care. It doesn't matter. But you have to record this somehow. You have to press a button on your side to save this before we hang up. Because if I hang up the call right now, you lose.
Oh, don't hang up. No. I'm gonna hit stop record, and then we're gonna But tell us about where we can find Johnny. Where can we find Johnny?
Just I don't know how to.
What's your Instagram?
Oh, Johnny Corthius. Korthuis. Good luck. It doesn't matter. But if you were curious, I have a YouTube channel, Johnny Corthius. If I also have Facebook, Johnny James. Instagram, Johnny Corthius.
JOHNNY.
But actually, hold on. If you want to do cool stuff like in person, which is what's awesome, instead of just chatting back on social media, although I love hanging out and sending memes and stuff to all my homies on Instagram, don't get me wrong. But sign up for some Arbor Canada courses. Like if you're interested in like learning proper, like how to do tree work, Arbor Canada, I teach a bunch. Well, I teach pretty much all the courses except for like the paperwork based ones. And if I don't catch you at one of those, come and hang out at one of the trade shows at any booth, wherever I am. Let's hang out, get to know each other, whatever. And then, if you're in Western Canada and you want to work together or whatever, hit me up on Saha. And it's actually really easy to find, just sa-highangle.ca or jkoind.ca and just click on Saha. We're going to have a whole bunch of really cool t-shirts coming out here pretty quick under my other brand, which is called A Life Aloft. And a lot of those proceeds are going to go towards like first responders. So, be it fire, EMS, police, etc. And then we also want to work towards helping out maybe some families that have lost their loved ones doing this job. So that's actually something I'm working on quietly behind the scenes. And the only reason that I mentioned it is I know that this podcast isn't going live for a while. So I have some time to actually get that shit off the ground. So don't release this for a little bit, but
it's all right, man.
I'm really excited,
we know
man.
It's in the works.
We're doing something similar. It's going to be dope.
Yeah. We should go down those rabbit holes one day. The fire, first responder-y, mental health crap.
I'm down. Yeah, I got my demons. I'm down to talk about them.
Yeah. It's good stuff. It makes you better. It makes you better. You learn from that stuff. Cool. Okay, buddy. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you coming on, and I think it, worked. So,
all right. Okay, press the thing where you save the upload, though. Don't lose all this.
Say bye to everybody.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye everybody.
Much love.